To start off today, I don't think there's anyone that could speak more about Selma or knows more about Selma than her sister Debbie. So it's my honor and pleasure and privilege to introduce Selma's sister Debby Bitticks.
I want to thank all of you for coming here today to celebrate the remarkable life of my sister, Selma Schimmel. Selma was a sparkling, brilliant diamond with so many varied and colorful facets. Even her facets were so unique. Each one of you here today has connected to one or more of those facets. I know that a part of Selma lives on with each and every one of you that is here, and through many souls throughout the world. Yes, daughter. If I tried to share with you the outpouring of love and support through the countless phone calls, letters, emails that I have received from around the world, we would be here for a week. Since we need to close at 4 o'clock today, I will try to be brief. I also wish that I could thank by name every devoted friend, family member, doctor, nurse, advocate, survivor, colleague, and everyone who made today's event possible. Although time won't allow me to do that, please forgive me and know that I appreciate everything that you have done for Selma, and I will always remember it with profound gratitude. As I've had so many requests from so many people asking for the timeline of Selma's life, I would like to start with that. I was an only child until I was almost 10 years old, and I never stopped begging my parents to give me a brother or sister. Then, finally, the big day came. Selma, this powerful force of energy, was born on September 16, 1954. I was a very proud big sister. Selma was very close to our maternal grandmother, Sarah, who lived down the street from us. Selma's childhood was interrupted when our beloved grandmother suddenly moved in with us, and I shared a bedroom with my grandmother. She was very ill, and I was up many nights with her. In her late 50s, just like Selma, she died of cancer. Following her death, and our father being pronounced dead from a major heart attack and then revived, our father and mother moved us from the Fairfax area to Studio City, where he was the founding rabbi of Congregation Beth Meir and continued to serve our congregation for over 50 years. This was another huge change for both Selma and for me. The synagogue started in our backyard. Then it moved to a duplex. And then it eventually moved to the synagogue, which was remodeled, that is still there today. When I left home to get married, had my 4 daughters, and opened my schools, Selma's life was deeply enmeshed with our mother, father, and the growth of the synagogue. Selma's faith and devotion to the synagogue was one of her many facets. Then, just like our grandmother Sarah, our mother, Rebbetzin Rochelle Schimmel, developed ovarian cancer and died in her late 50s too. Selma was devastated. She was only 26 years old. Then, only 2 years later, when Selma was 28 and a student at UCLA, Selma developed a mass in her breast. Selma called me at one of my schools and told me that she finally found a surgeon who was willing to do the surgery, and it would be outpatient because everyone said you're much too young to have breast cancer. I will never forget the day that Dr. Joseph Yadigar called me at my school and told me that I had to come to his office with my sister and with my father the next day. And then he explained to us that Selma, following this lumpectomy, needed to have chemotherapy. It was Selma's tenacity and her trusting her own instincts that made her the fighter and that saved her own life. Something else very important was born from this experience. Selma became a young adult cancer advocate. She realized that there had to be other young people with the same predicament that had nowhere to turn. And that's when Selma started Vital Options, a nonprofit organization serving young adults with cancer. Advocacy was another facet of this very brilliant diamond. Her creativity was another facet, and that was evident in her Dance for Life fundraisers, which also attracted many talented celebrities to raise money for the organization. Some of you may have seen the posters around the room today. Selma wanted to reach more people and help them. She wanted to bring doctors, patients, therapists, family, and friends to a place of knowledge and a place of healing. That became the next journey with the creation of the Group Room radio program at Premier Radio. Selma was on the air for 15 years and helped countless lives. This showed another facet of Selma as her hosting and communication skills served others. Selma then realized, with the internet and new technology evolving, that she could go beyond the US radio boundaries and help people in other countries in addition to the US. Selma enlisted the support and cooperation of people she knew in Europe and was able to start Choix Vital in Paris with Dr. Claude-Alain Plachon as its leader. This was the first cancer support group in Paris, which celebrated its 10th anniversary on September 2012 and honored Selma for her visionary and groundbreaking work. This was Selma's last trip and her farewell to Paris and all that she had created there with Dr. Plachon by her side. During the 3.5 years that my father, Rabbi Schimmel, lived with us, and my husband Ken and I were his caregivers, Selma and I took our father for genetic testing. That's when Selma and I were also tested and found that we both carried the BRCA mutation, the BRCA1 mutation. And the mystery of our grandmother's and mother's early death was finally solved. The doctors recommended that Selma have her ovaries removed to prevent her from getting ovarian cancer. Selma waited a couple of years and then scheduled the surgery in 2003 with Dr. Leo Lagasse. Unfortunately, the ovarian cancer had already started. Following the surgery and chemo, Selma returned to her full work schedule, hoping that the cancer would not return. Selma encouraged families to keep a health history and to get genetic testing. She also began video interviews of doctors and key opinion leaders from around the world so that their work could be shared with everyone who needed the information. If you go to the Group Room TV, there are hundreds of videos available to view for free. There is no way to know how many lives are being saved. Selma's beauty, warmth, eloquence, and clarity on camera were other facets of this diamond. Because Selma and I were both night owls, she would often talk to me very, very late at night. She also had me read many clinical trials, and she would tell me when she thought she might have saved another life. I remember her helping a woman in Africa who would email her and call her, "Hi, sis." Another of Selma's facets, forgive me, Selma, her compulsive behavior. Okay, even though it drove us absolutely crazy at times, it also was what often came into play to help other people. Only recently, a very lucky school teacher in Bangladesh managed to find Selma on the internet. She realized that he would die without her help. She called everyone she knew multiple times, as many of you may know. She raised the money needed to pay the doctors and the hospital for his treatment. She arranged to wire the money to the appropriate parties, and he is cured today. He's back. He's back teaching school and has become an advocate in his country. He calls our Selma his angel. As Selma went through reoccurrences of her cancer, she talked to many other cancer survivors, and Selma became a passionate advocate for palliative care, which improves the quality of life and pain management. I can hardly find the words to describe the incredible care that Selma received from her longtime oncologist and dear friend, Dr. Avram Blooming, who will speak later today, and the amazing, compassionate, and skilled oncology nurses at Providence Medical Center. I practically lived in Selma's room at the hospital for almost 1 month, so I personally experienced the care that she received. When I would awake early in the mornings, Dr. Blooming would be there at Selma's side. During the day, he would appear again, and yet in the evenings again too. I know that Selma got the best possible loving care possible. Selma and I often talked to our father about his philosophy and his belief in eternal life. He would say that when a person's house was falling apart and the roof was caving in, it was time to leave the house. So when the human body becomes ill and it no longer functions, it is time for the soul to leave the body and to return to God. I miss Selma, my only sister, and it's like an ache in my heart. Our father always gave us 3 kisses, reminding us the importance of the past, the present, and the future. So Selma, I'm sending you a kiss for the past, which will always be remembered. And for the present, as all of us who love you are celebrating your life today, and your future legacy, which will live on with all the people continuing your work with Vital Options, and all the lives that will continue to be touched throughout the world.